Thunder Lady as they straighten up. It's Gust of Wind on the inside. Candelara's trying to come back. Now Winx is starting to put in the big strides. Gust of Wind under the whip has Candelara beat. Winx is running on resolutely. It's Gust of Wind. England riding for dear life. Winx is trying to pull back the margin, but it's not going to happen. And Gust of Wind is roaring away with the Australian Oaks. Gust of Wind by 2.5 lengths to Winx. She's a lady.
Darcy Brahma filly Gust of Wind taking out the Australian Oaks on the weekend there for John Sargent and Ty Angland, and another Oaks for Sarge, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Look, he's done a great job with these fillies, hasn't he? He's a similar profile to Kiramosa, who came out of sort of country racing to get the job done in the VRC Oaks. And Ty Angland, well, he was dirty when he got taken off Thunder Lady. He then got the ride on Gust of Wind and gets the Oaks done. It's an amazing seesaw, isn't it, sometimes being a jockey at that level?
For sure. I would know, Butch. I would know. He's a very, very good rider, Ty Angland, and there's no bloke, a better bloke to deserve a Group 1 than Ty. He's come home from Hong Kong because of family, personal issues, and I get on well with Ty, so it's a great effort for him.
You mentioned Kiramosa coming out of country racing. What about this filly coming out of Scone? And the maiden win was just phenomenal.
Yeah, it was. Look, this has to be seen to be believed. There she is. She sort of half didn't want to go. Look at her, what she conservatively 20 lengths off the leader there, and looks like Jay Ford's having a devil of a job to get her motivated. and she's got the gear on there still, I think, hasn't she? Yeah, she has. Got blinkers on anyway, and still here. What is she in the running? 300, 400 to 1 in the running?
Couldn't possibly win.
And 1,000 to 1 she got out to, we're hearing in our ear. And look at her motor home the last bit. And it doesn't give up, and bang, she gets there on the line. So,
geez, you'd be pretty positive about her getting her 2,400 metres after a run like that, wouldn't you?
It's a long way from there to a ATC Oaks, though, isn't it?
But from Scone, it's a long way away.
She ran it out so strongly.
Flies like pigeons in Scone.
Great for Darcy Brahma, because it's what he's needed. He's needed that big race winner in Aussie.
It's his first Group 1 winner in Australia, I believe, I think.
If it's not, it's certainly one of his very few. And but that sort of result is good for him, because he's at that stage where he needs those good horses doing the job across the Tasman.
For sure, yeah, great for New Zealand.
And gee, Jay Ford deserved more than one riding fee for that ride. The perseverance, I mean, you would, like you said, out to 1,000 to 1 in running, unbelievable.
Yeah, no, she's done it well. And as we said, Sarge just seems to be able to get these fillies to peak at the right time. He takes an unconventional approach, as we said again, did it with Kiramosa, and now he's done it with this filly. And her run on Monday was pretty good, but gee, she stepped up again.
She certainly did. He does a great job, Sarge, and he's a very, very good businessman, and he can talk the talk, so good on him.
Queen Elizabeth Stakes on Saturday was taken out by the Sebring 4-year-old Criterion. Kiwi owned, trained by the Hayes Dabenham team down in Victoria, and Craig Williams, Butch, the successful rider. Yeah,
well, you wanted to be on here. It wasn't 1,000 to 1 in the running, this one, was it? It was one of yours for one of theirs, probably less than, even much less than that. Look, his instructions, if you read the paper, were to ride this horse like the best horse in the race. You heard the pre-race interview where Craig Williams said the barrier blanket had been put on to try and get him out of the gates and use the good gate that he had. He did that. He posied him up somewhere near the speed, and look, he's just smashed them. What was a very good field. Red Cadeau's gone well, but all about the winner for me.
Yeah, he loves running second, Red Cadeau, doesn't he? I think he's become the highest money earner in Europe after that second. He's only won 7 races, something like he's a 9-year-old now and heading for another Melbourne Cup, but massive effort, the winner, being racing very consistently and always been a very, very good horse.
$3.5 or $4 million, I think he's won in Australia, and hasn't won a race. Red Cadeau. So
he's actually placed. I saw something on Twitter. He's placed in races that have been worth $32 million. So he's certainly paid his way without winning.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, and that's how you do it. I suppose we had the tip about how well this horse had come up when Michael Walker joined us a number of weeks ago, and his appeal was to the careless riding suspension was solely based on wanting to ride Criterion, if you remember. And, and look, he didn't get off that careless riding suspension. Craig Williams rode him when he ran second and retained the ride and wins it. So gee, it's an expensive exercise, that keyless riding at times, isn't it?
Should be a hard game to watch, wouldn't it, sitting at home watching that one?
Well, that's cost Michael 120-odd thousand in a percentage riding fee, so yeah.
He's got plenty though.
And I believe Criterion's heading off to Hong Kong to the Queen Elizabeth Stakes in a couple of weeks as well, and Williams will ride there as well.
And then Ascot, by the sounds, after that as well.
Okay.
So, yeah, they've got a real international program mapped out for him. Sir Owen Glenn has been a big investor in the New Zealand industry. Look to go on the ride of his life with this horse.
For sure.
The 150th running of the Sydney Cup was on Saturday. It was taken out by Grand Marshal. Kiwi connection here with Chris Waller teaming up with Jim Cassidy.
Yeah, I forgot to mention James Arthur Cassidy at the top of the program when talking about Kiwis. How could you forget him? Look, ring-a-ding-ding, the Pumper's the king. Couldn't get a ride on the first day, Paul. Comes out and wins the Sydney Cup, and you just thought that Who Shot the Barman had the race parcelled up, but out the corner of the eye, here comes the Pumper.
Certainly does, and there's no better man you want on a tight finish than the Pumper. And geez, Chrissy Waller, what a great job, corralling another Group 1 at Royal Randwick, and geez, they've gapped the rest of them, haven't they? Who Shot the Barman looked all over a winner at the 150 metre mark with the Pumper. He lifted him and got the job done.
Yeah, big day for the Macau-based owner, CC Lai, with the two winners, Delectation, earlier in the program. So it's only the second time I think I read that he'd been to Australia to watch these horses race, and he wins the Sydney Cup and a race earlier in the program with Delectation.
I'd love to know what number Group 1 winner that is for Jimmy Cassidy.
104, I think.
104, is it?
104, yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
Nearly as many as winners I rode.
Speaking of expat Kiwi riders, Jason Collett, successful earlier in the day in that provincial championship final.
Yeah, and this was a ride too. Look, he just gave this horse the gun run in transit, followed the fence, didn't want to leave it, got the split, and look, this is great for Jason to be able to win a race on the big stage during the championships. He's done a super job since getting to Sydney. We hear about James McDonald each and every week, and why wouldn't we? He's an international rider now tied up with Godolphin, but gee whiz, Jason Collett's done a good job, Paul.
Oh, he certainly has. Look, and he's been one of our top jockeys for a number of years now, and I think it just shows how good you actually have to be to go over there and compete at the top level. I mean, Jason probably hasn't reached the heights that James has, but in his own right, he's a very, very, very good rider.
And so I'd say earning a great living as well.
My word, a great living, but it's good to see, so good on him.
And Kiwi-owned Grionte, just beaten in the last, the Sapphire.
Yeah, she was. She's just continuing to be a bridesmaid, but there's going to be a big race for her. The run 2 starts ago in Melbourne in the William Reid was outstanding, and Avoid Lightning, she sort of looked like she had her on toast a bit, but Avoid Lightning loves the wet track and came back. There's a bit of a space back to the third one, so yeah, there'll be a race for Grionte. I wouldn't be surprised if they headed down to the Fillies and Mares Group 1 in South Australia.
Yeah, we'll be very competitive too.
All right, what have we learnt this week? Watch.
I've learnt that the championships, with their 11,000 people on the relocated Monday and the 24,000 people on Saturday, have got a long way to go to become Sydney's autumn equivalent of Melbourne's spring. Look, the huge stakes that they've had on offer, nearly 20 million over the 2 days, enticed international visitors from Japan, New Zealand, from Europe, whether they be horse or human. But it just goes to show you that years of tradition can't be beaten when you consider that they can get over 100,000 people to 3 of the 4 days at Flemington during the spring. Quite staggering when you look at what the championships had on offer, the horses, the horsemen and women that it brought, but still the crowds have got a huge amount of way to go to get anything like the Spring Carnival.
And Twig, what did you learn this week?
DA, what I've learnt this week is that we've got 4 group races, 3 listed races over 3 venues this weekend, as opposed to last weekend where we had 3 venues and only 2 listed races at one of them. Now surely we can do something better here with the serious lack of top quality jockeys across the board in New Zealand. Trainers have been ringing and ringing and ringing trying to find riders to ride at Hastings, and there is no one available. Surely we need to do something about this.
So a programming issue.
Oh look, I just think with the lack of racing this weekend, I mean, we struggled, didn't we, with quality racing, and then this weekend we're filling our boots with it. And let's be honest, we just don't have the jockeys to spread it.
All right, you'll have a view on this, and we'll give you our social media channels in a moment. The hook, Butch.
Well, on Saturday in Sydney, we saw the launch of the Longines timing system. This is the equivalent of the new tracker system that's gone into Victoria. You can get data on how far horses have travelled in the running, where they've sat, what speeds they've run, what times they've run for different sectionals right throughout the race. Here in New Zealand, despite assurances early on weigh-in, we're still waiting to get a 600-metre time for each and every individual horse. Let's just hope by the time we come back for another season that we can at least get that.
All right, we'll catch you next week, for the last one.
Cheers.
Okay, and Twig?
Look forward to it.
All right. If you'd like to contact us, those social media channels are popping up on screen, facebook.com/weighinshow, @weighinshow on Twitter, and you can email us as well, weighin@nzracingboard.co.nz. Yes, our last weigh-in for the season coming up next week, which will include our weigh-in awards. We at least hope you'll join us then. From all the team, good night.